What's up, crew? Welcome back to Libertalia Game Supply. Today we're taking a look at a cleaned up version of this Exodia deck, playing the new Phantom Incarnate Exodia Fusion that we won't be getting for a few months, but it is so good compared to what I thought it was, and I thought it was good initially. Still probably not meta, but it is very good with just the way that this deck can set its board up so easily, and it's got a lot of really interesting strengths that most other decks do not have. Now, on first viewing, you might think that the Horus stuff would kind of clash with the Exodia stuff because you're leaving monsters on the board that are going to get shuffled back with the Millennium Cross, which kind of resets your deck in a way that doesn't benefit you. However, I think one of the main issues that was coming up in the pure build was that you couldn't really make use of your extra deck because the extra deck monsters would get taken away. But at rank 8, you have a lot of pretty powerful effects that you can use prior to going into your Incarnate and kind of wiping your own board more or less. And the Horus engine lets you take advantage of that. And most importantly, it gives you access to Giant Trainer, which will boost consistency in this deck a lot. Crazy amount. So the main strategy here is that you're going to go into your extra deck monsters. Going second is probably better because you have a few more that can do a little bit extra to your opponent's board. And then you would summon your Incarnate, shuffle them all back, and the materials on them go to the graveyard, obviously, and so you would be able to reuse them on your next turn. They're not shuffled back. It doesn't reset your deck in that way. For all of the Millennium monsters, we went 3 ofs on the 5, 6, and 8. There is just no reason to play the two lower level ones. They just don't fit in well. It's not worth trying to make room for them, and it leaves us room for a ton of hand traps, which kind of plays into the power of the deck, I think. Otherwise, the rest of this is pretty standard. I want to make note of one very important interaction in this deck with the Millennium Cross and the Exodia pieces. So you have Shrine of Yugioh. The Shrine would let you set a monster from your hand in the back row as a spell or trap, and then set a Millennium monster from your deck in the back row as a spell or trap. And most ideally, you're going to be hoping it's going to be one of the Millennium monsters in your hand, and then you're setting an additional one, and it'll just give you extra pluses. However, if you were to need to set one of your Exodia pieces, you can put it in the back row. You should then be able to get to your shield, search your Millennium Cross, activate your cross, summon your Exodia, and the cross will shuffle back anything that's not an Exodia, a Sengenjin, or a Millennium monster, meaning that your Exodia piece that you had to set in your back row will go back into your deck. So if you're going second, they could just pop the Exodia piece, and now the deck is kind of dead unless you have a way of getting your Exodo Flame into the graveyard to put it back in your deck. But on turn 1, there's really not ways for them to pop your back row if you're going first, meaning you can be free and clear to just use these as something valuable with the Shrine in order to get the deck going, and I just thought that was a really cool interaction. I also wanted to highlight one more really strong aspect of this deck. You really only need one copy of the Cross to go through, and your board is set. You're ready to go to negate, blow up boards. You're playing enough hand traps here to hopefully have a couple of extra negates available to you every now and again. And so that would mean that if you open the Cross, because I was considering cutting this down to 1 or 2, but I really think you need it at 3, because if you happen to just draw into it, the rest of your hand is just free for you to do whatever you want. It can all just be hand trap bait. You can go Horuses, you can do whatever effects, and they can negate whatever they want. Let them. It does not matter. You're just going to Millennium Cross. You'll reset whatever monsters got left on the board anyway, unless they were the Millenniums, and you still get your Incarnate with your board wipe, your negate, and your board wipe, and it's just crazy. It's crazy how efficiently this deck does this. So we'll run a test hand here just so you can see a quick example of how the deck works, and then you guys are free to try it and tweak it to your heart's content. Alright, so we got an opening hand here, which really isn't great. We have no Millennium monsters. This spell is useless if you don't have the Exodia. A couple hand traps and a Terraforming to get to the Shrine. We're going to open with the Imseti. We'll ditch the Veiler because I think the Ash is just more useful over time. Grab our copy of King's Sarcophagus, and then we'll get that draw. So now right here, depending on how much you feel like gambling, we can go into just the Giant Trainer with the Shrine, so you could just discard these 2 to send the other 2, which we'll do it. Let's just see how it goes, see how consistent the deck really is. We'll send our other 2 Horus monsters, ditching our stuff. We really didn't have anything great to set with the Shrine anyway other than the leg. So we'll draw a couple and see how this goes. So we'll summon all 3, we'll overlay into that Giant Trainer, and then we'll get these draws going. So hopefully it's not just all Exodia pieces. If we get anything useful, we're set. Draw number 1 is an Imperm. Draw number 2 is a Shrine, so we can make that work. And draw number 3 is a Shield, so we can make all this work. So now you don't have to waste that leg in the back row, even though it doesn't really matter. So we'll use our Shrine, we'll set the shield in the back row, and then we'll set the Caveman from the deck. And then we're gonna go Shrine effect first. Shrine effect will allow us to search the cross out of our deck, since we happen to not see one, unfortunately. And then the Caveman becomes free, so we'll throw that up as well. Reveal the cross for the special summon. Caveman is going to get that search on summon. We'll grab the Golem. We'll use the Golem, we'll put him out there and get the extra copy of the Yugioh, but we really don't need it. I just end up leaving it out there just as a wall most of the time, just a little extra body. There's no point in link summoning with it. But if it ends up surviving into the next turn, you can just go into the IP and then SP with all three of these and get that removal. And then the search for redundant cards in here as well is an important note, because if you were to do this in the reverse order, like you use the Shrine because we had that terraforming to open, and you were able to say you ended up with this same hand and you don't need the second Shrine, it's just extra discard fodder. So because we have so many spare copies of cards that are redundant just for consistency, we have a lot of discard fodder to set us up for our Horus engine as well. But that's already all set up, so we'll just go Shrine. We're going to lose the Giant Trainer, but it doesn't matter because the valuable aspects of it have already been used. We'll throw the Exodia on the board, and now you're in really good shape. So in the end phase, you get a search. You can choose whichever ones you want. I'm always going to choose the Raging Hellfire. That is just an absurd card. And then as we pass turn here, we have the board wipe, a spell or trap negate, quick effect, so it can stop. Even if they try to like imperm your effect, your search effect or something, you can just quick effect negate the imperm. So super nice there. And then we did end up with 2 hand traps. Obviously, it's not a little combo. The deck doesn't really combo. It's just meant to be as consistent as possible with generating this board. So even if these all die, doesn't matter. They all put themselves in the back row anyway if the Shrine's up. All we're worried about is this guy. He is so hard to deal with because he has that negate. So if their opponent's starter is a spell, or I mean not a trap obviously, if the opponent's starter is a spell, you're just going to negate it. They get to have nothing. If they play through it and they start putting monsters on board, as long as you're familiar with the meta that you're playing in, you can just wait for the board to be kind of at a choke point and then just blow up everything. If it's monster spells, traps, whatever, if they had a field spell up, a continuous spell, whatever, all of it's gone. Doesn't matter, and you're good to go. And then if you have those extra hand traps available to you, it's pretty much game over, because as soon as that turn comes back, you're going to pay your 1,000. We'll go ahead and get that search in their end phase, theoretically. On your own turn, in standby phase, you'll get your draw, you'll get your effect to pay 1,000, so you're going to drop to 5k here. But you're more than set. Even if you lost all of these, you have your 3 Horus monsters in the graveyard, so when you go into battle phase, you would have 5k here, because that's the life point count you have. Whatever it happens to be, if you open the cross, it's going to be at 8k hopefully, and he's going to OTK on his own. Even if not, you have more than 8,000 damage in the graveyard with the Horus monsters anyway. You can make new extra deck monsters. It gives you a ton of follow-up. It's just crazy. So at this point, I'm really going to encourage you to try this out. It is a super fun deck. It feels so good to get to win with the Exodia. It's got some really clean searching lines in here, and it's pretty resilient to hand traps. It feels very good. So give it a try. Tell me how you like it. Happy deck building. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Goodbye.